Unchained is back, baby. What's going on, guys? Super Insane 18 here, and today we are bringing you an Unchained Fiendsmith deck profile. Unchained is one of the decks that Fiendsmith just absolutely raises the ceiling of, adding not only a much needed layer of consistency after Sharvara got hit to 1, but also a plethora of 1-card combos as well that the deck didn't have previously. So we're going to go ahead and show you guys the build as well as a combo at the end, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and jump on in. To kick things off with the main deck, we are starting with 3 copies of Unchained Twins Aruha. This is one of the better ones, being able to summon itself by destroying one of your cards, which just further exploits the way that Unchains are able to function, getting all of their destruction effects as well. We have the 1 copy of Unchained Twins Rikeya and Unchained Twins Sarama. Honestly, I did almost cut the Rikeya because for a lot of the combos, it just isn't really needed, and a lot of the times it kind of feels like a brick if I'm being honest, but it really is important for the grind game when you get into it, or very niche combos as well. We do have our 1 copy of Sharvara and our 1 copy of Shyama. I do wish that we had more than just one of the Sharvara, but unfortunately it is what it is. Thankfully though, the Fiendsmith stuff is a great supplement for it, as you guys will see in the combos. We have our 1 copy of the Abominable Unchained Soul, and the 1 copy of Disaster as well, a very much needed brick for the deck. Unfortunately, some of the combos do require that you use it, so we do have to play it. Then onto the Fiendsmith, of course, we have our 3 copies of Fiendsmith Engraver, supplemented with the 1 Fabled Lurry as well. All 4 of these cards function as 1-card full Unchained combo as well, so it doesn't matter which one you open, you are able to set up your Unchained board. And then, of course, we have our 3 copies of Tour Guide from the Underworld, the best normal summon that the deck has to offer, in tandem with, of course, the Fiendish Rhino Warrior, being able to send your Sharvara, and then Sharvara gets its graveyard effect as well. And that's actually going to do it for the monsters. We are not playing any hand traps because we are playing board breakers instead. Onto the spells, we have our 3 copies of Abomination's Prison. This is just some consistency for the deck, and of course you also have the destruction effect as well. You really don't want to use that unless you have to, because you do just kind of want to add your cards instead, but you never know where you're going to end up in your game state. And then we have 3 copies of Fiendsmith Tracked. Now this is one of the decks that I think should be running 3 Tracked, because it is full combo in and of itself, so we're just adding on to the consistency, because a good amount of consistency was lost with the Sharvara hit. So by adding in 3 copies of Tracked, again, the entire Fiendsmith engine is 1-card combo, so we might as well up that consistency as much as possible. We do have 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet as a board breaker as well, and we also have our 3 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. Now, this is a card that I think is a lot better in Unchained than it is in other decks, because you are able to set your Unchained traps as well, which then function as extenders if you have a way to destroy them. So really good going first in that aspect, and then really good going second, being able to search some of your board breakers as well. Which, speaking of, we have 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent as one of our board breakers, as well as a way to play through hand traps going first, and a copy of Dark Ruler No More as well. This is a really good going second option, being able to search it off of the thrust and just turn off your opponent's entire board. We do have 2 copies of the Abominable Chamber moving on to our traps. You don't really want to play 3 of these because it is relatively recyclable with something like the Sarama. And then 3 copies of our Unchained, or Escape of the Unchained rather. This is the one you want to max out on because a lot of times this is the one you want to draw to be able to pop, but it's also just really good as a form of interruption as well. And if you notice, that is only 37 cards. That's because the last 3 cards I'm up in the air about. I really wanted an extra layer of consistency, and unfortunately something like Pot of Prosperity was just not good because of how tight and necessary every single card in the extra deck is. So for the moment, the last 3 cards are actually Upstart Goblin, just to be able to go ahead and dig for more consistency. If you want to play literally anything else in this slot, you can absolutely go ahead and do so. This is just what's been working for me in testing because I needed that little bit of extra push, and it's gotten there, so that is going to be a 40-card main deck. Let's show you guys the extra. Now, as I said at the end of the main deck, the extra deck is very tight, and every card in here feels absolutely necessary in order for you to be able to play efficiently, so I did have to make some concessions in order to fit everything in, and I'm not really happy with some of them, but this was the best combination of extra deck cards that I was able to come up with. So of course, first we have the Aerial Eater and the Necroquit Princess. These are two incredible TCG exclusives that work incredibly well with the Fiendsmith archetype. Not only does the Necroquit Princess do everything that you've seen in previous combos that I've shown on this channel, but the Aerial Eater functions as a Foolish Burial and an extender, so you can go ahead and do something like send your Sharvara to set one of your traps, and then because you'll have this plus the link to the sequence from the Fiendsmith, you can go ahead and link both into a Yama search Aruha, and then Aruha pop that trap that you just conveniently set. So really, really good there. And then, of course, we have our two Fiendsmith fusions with the Lacrima and the Desiree. Now, Desiree is a card that I am not 100% sold on in other decks, but for this deck specifically, I think that it's absolutely incredible because of the one-card combo I'm going to show you guys at the end of the profile. Then we have our one Xyz, which is DDD Wave High King Caesar. We are playing a Fiend-centric deck, so we don't even need the Fiendsmith engine to make this. We can just make this in Archetype with our Unchained monsters, which makes it incredibly strong. We have our Fiendsmith package with the Requiem, Sequence, and Moon of the Closed Heaven. All of these just kind of lead you into your Fiendsmith board, which is incredibly strong. And then, of course, we have our one copy of SP Little Knight. This is what you are going to summon off of something like your Unchained Soul of Rage during your opponent's turn as a form of multiple interruptions. Then, of course, we have our two copies of Yama. We do want to play two Yama and one Rage because Yama is the one that's able to search and recur your cards, and the Rage is relatively recurable as well. It is a little bit scary because people are on Bestials, but unfortunately it's just one of those concessions that was needed to be made in order to fit everything into the extra deck. And the final Unchained card is going to be the Unchained Soul of Anguish, which is just overall an incredible card, especially when you pair it with something like Access Code Talker. For those of you that don't know, when you do the Unchained Anguish into Access Code Talker, your opponent is not able to respond to the effect of Access Code, so what you can do is something like link away their Flamberge, and then declare your effect of Access Code, and then the Flamberge won't get the float effect, which is just incredibly cool utility. And then the final card that we have is, of course, going to be the Appaloosa Bow of Goddess. This is just one of the pieces you can end to your, or add to your end board, and it is very strong as multiple negates, as well as keeping you safe from hand traps. But that's going to do it for the extra deck as well, so let's show you guys that combo I promised. And before we get into that combo that I promised you guys, I do just want to say that there are a ton of combos that this deck can achieve, so if you want a fully dedicated combo tutorial, let's go ahead and get this video to 100 likes. That will prove to me that that is what you guys want to see. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this one, but if you want to see more, make sure to smash that like button. Let's go ahead and show you guys what is obtainable with just a single copy of Tour Guide as your normal summon. So we are going to start off with the normal summon of the Tour Guide, activating its effect to summon from the deck, of course summoning out our copy of Fiendish Rhino Warrior. Here we'll take the Tour Guide and the Rhino Warrior, linking both off into a copy of Unchained Soul Lord of Yama, and that will activate Yama as Chainlink 1 and Rhino as Chainlink 2. Rhino will go ahead and send the Sharvara from our deck to our graveyard, and the Yama will be able to add any Unchained. We'll go ahead and add our copy of Aruha to our hand. This will then allow the Sharvara to activate in a separate chain, go ahead and set our copy of Abominable Chamber from our deck to our side of the field, and now we can use the Aruha in hand to special summon itself by destroying the set copy of Abominable Chamber. That, of course, activates the Abominable Chamber to summon an Unchained from our deck. Here we are going to go ahead and summon out the Twins Sarama. The Sarama will be able to use its effect, resetting our copy of Chamber to our side of the field, and then subsequently destroying the card. Here we will go ahead and destroy the copy of Aruha. Aruha will activate when it's destroyed. This is going to allow us to summon out our copy of Shyama, and now we are good to bridge into our Fiendsmith engine. Taking the Sarama and the Yama, we will go ahead and link into the copy of Moon of the Closed Heaven, and then linking off the Moon of the Closed Heaven, we can go ahead and go into our Requiem. We can activate the effect of Requiem, tributing itself as cost, to then summon out our copy of Engraver from our deck, and now we can bridge into the Necroquit Princess. Using the Grave effect of Requiem, we'll go ahead and equip it to our Fiendsmith Engraver, and then we will send both for the fusion summon of the Necroquit Princess. The next move is going to be to reborn out our Engraver, so we will go ahead and shuffle back our Requiem to put our Engraver on the field, and then we can take the Engraver and the Shyama and link both of them off into a copy of Unchained Soul of Rage. Here we can take the Shyama in our graveyard and special summon it back to our side of the field by destroying the copy of Rage, and that is going to activate two effects. We'll get the effect of Rage to add a fiend from our grave to our hand, and we can also use the effect of Yama to resummon out our Rage. Well, we can resummon anything, but we're going to specifically specifically summon the Rage. So banishing the Yama as cost, we will go ahead and summon out our copy of Rage, and then the Rage is going to add the Engraver back to our hand. Now that we have the Engraver in our hand, we can go ahead and use its effect, because we have not done that yet, and that will allow us to add a copy of Tract from our deck to our hand. Now, that's not the only thing it does, because Necroquip Princess actually has an on-field effect as well. Because we used a monster effect in hand, we can actually draw a card, so we're going to go ahead and draw. I'm showing you guys that the draw doesn't matter, it can literally be anything, but now we have multiple resources in our hand when we only started off the one tour guide. Taking the Necroquip Princess and the Shyama, we'll go ahead and overlay them into a copy of DDD Wave High King Caesar, and now we are officially nib-proof for the remainder of our combo. Here we can go ahead and activate out the Tract. This is of course going to add us our copy of Lurry and discard the Lurry. Lurry will activate its effect in the graveyard to summon itself back out, and now we can take the Rage and the Lurry and link both of them off into a copy of Fiendsmith Sequence. Fiendsmith Sequence will be able to activate its effect. We're going to go ahead and shuffle back our Lurry as well as our Moon of the Closed Heaven, and these are going to allow us to summon out our copy of Lacrima. With Lacrima now on the field, we can use its summon effect to reborn out our copy of Fiendsmith Engraver, and the final thing that we can do is use the Grave effect of Tract, banishing it from our graveyard to fusion summon with monsters on our field. So using the Sequence, the Lacrima, and the Engraver, we're going to go ahead and go into our copy of Desiree. We'll go ahead and use the effect of the Sequence in Graveyard to equip to the Desiree, allowing us to negate 2 cards on the field as well, and then we can go ahead and pass our turn. So now on the opponent's turn, we have a plethora of interruptions. We have 2 negates off of the Caesar, 2 negates off of the Desiree, so that's already 4 interruptions, but not to mention we can also go ahead and use the Abominable Chamber, which is going to allow us to reborn out our copy of Rage, acting as a 5th interruption by linking away something that they have, and then finally a 6th interruption as well, because it will go into the SP Little Knight, which turns into a 7th interruption as well, being able to banish something on the field. So off of just a single copy of Tour Guide, we not only replenished our resource with the draw, so we have 5 cards in hand, 7 interruptions, and guaranteed follow-up because the Engraver is live in the grave as well, and I think that is just incredible. And there you guys have it. That is going to do it for my Unchained deck profile and combo tutorial. Again, if you want to see more combos, let's go ahead and get this video to 100 likes. That will show me that that is what you guys want, and if you guys want it, I want to do it. So you know the deal. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends, and as always, don't forget to check out the channel sponsor Dueling Guard. Using code INSANE18 or my link in the description down below, you can get 5% off your entire order, and of course it helps to support the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.